forgot to do my facial warm-ups. It's all those little acting like Mamalo Popolo,
Yeah.
Paper Poppy Baby Bubble. Like the stuff that you do before you go
Yes,
on
I've
stage.
never done those.
Really? You just go out
Yeah, I've
cold?
never done them. Maybe I should. Maybe I could benefit from that.
Yeah, that's like as an actor, or a performer, that's your body is your tool, and you got to warm that tool
It is,
up.
but I'm like Barbara. I'm too lazy to do those things.
Or Mariah.
I mean, I don't even know what that is.
I'm
I'm
sure Mariah warms up her voice, but she's clearly not warming up her body because
She can't even walk anymore. But I am actually like legitimately worried about her. Like something is going on?
I heard she's doing a Christmas residency now in
Yeah, I just
Vegas.
saw that today.
She's like, I'm done with touring.
Yeah, but maybe that's a good thing?
Yeah.
Maybe the show will be better as a result of her not having to travel.
All right, we're up. We're live, right? Yes, I think we are. Okay. You're listening to MLVC, the Madonna podcast, your place for all things Madonna Louise, Veronica Ciccone. Hey, everybody, it's Stefan. Well, tonight we are rejoined by a previous guest star of stage and screen. She's a comedian, TV show personality, and just like that, connoisseur, and of course, a Madonna fan. It's Tranna Wintour. Welcome back,
Thank you
Tranna.
so much for having me.
So I was looking back. Last time we had you on the show was for a celebration tour review. Which show did you go to?
The Montreal show.
The Montreal. Okay, I knew I was like it had to be in Canada, but then I was
Yeah.
like maybe it wasn't. It feels like that was another lifetime ago.
It's crazy how, like, it's not that long ago, though. Like, it's
No.
barely been 2 years since the tour, or at least since I saw it. But it does almost feel like 5 years ago. It's
Yeah,
very strange.
yeah. Something's happened lately in the universe where like time just feels like it's like
Yeah,
slowed down.
so weird. The last 5 years, I think we can all agree,
Yeah.
very strange.
Yeah. But so we had you on the show, and then literally like a few weeks later, you were cast on Traitors Canada season two.
Oh my God, yeah, it's true. I spoke to you before that happened.
I mean, I had no idea MLVC podcast has such sway with casting agents,
Yeah, they saw my appearance on the pod and they were like, gotta have her.
right? I say good things happen to people who come on the show. That's all I gotta say.
Absolutely.
I'm still waiting for my reality show, but
It's gonna happen.
yeah, one day. How was Traders? How was it? I mean, I've watched all your TikToks and I sort of felt like I lived through the journey.
Yeah, no, it was a wild experience. I had a blast, but it was honestly a very intense experience because the shooting is so condensed.
Hmm.
So, basically one episode is one day of filming and it's like an 18-hour day and the
Wow.
days are back to back. And as a fan of the show, like I didn't know that side of it. Like I didn't anticipate for the level of exhaustion, like the kind of exhaustion, and I'm sure that it's to some extent done intentionally, the kind of exhaustion that really sort of brings your guard down and makes
Right.
your emotions more raw and you're the part of your brain that sort of censors you or keeps you in check is literally just not working anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I've never yelled or spoken to people the way that I did on that show in my life. But I guess a little Madonna Truth or Dare popped out?
Exactly. You never know when you
Motherfucker. I'm like, you're a traitor, Keith. You're a traitor.
if somebody doesn't come up here now and fix this show, we're not doing a show tonight. They must like at least they feed you and put you up in like
Oh
good
yeah, of
hotel or
course. Of
something.
course. Yes, yes, yes. I actually
Okay.
ate very well, actually.
Okay. I was gonna
Yeah.
say, but hopefully it's not just like Skittles and like
No, no,
like a
no.
bowl of
They,
pretzels, and then there's a tent outside for you.
no, they do take very, very good care of us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, then
while
you're good.
also psychologically torturing us through the
Right. Right. Right.
experience of the show that we willingly signed up for.
And spoiler alert. I mean, I couldn't watch it because we don't
Yeah.
have Canadian. You did not
I know
win.
it's so frustrating. Our Canadian season, like the Canadian, there's two Canadian seasons, and for some reason they're only available in Canada. Hopefully that will change soon. But I made it all the way to the end. I was a runner up, but I was betrayed by a traitor in the end. It was
Ah.
me and the traitor at the end. It ended up being the two of us, and she was literally the person I trusted the most.
That bitch.
And I thought I was going to be so good, you know? I
Yeah,
am like a deeply intuitive person, and I am. I don't think that what happened on the show necessarily negates reality.
sure.
And it's not real life. Like it's people playing a game, you know? But I didn't even guess a single traitor right the entire time I was there. But I was always very confident about who I thought, like extremely confident.
Fake it till you make it.
Make it so you make. But yeah, I really thought that my intuition was strong enough that I would know immediately who the traders are, but that
Mhm.
did not happen.
Do you think Madonna would fare well on a show like that?
Maybe like Madonna circa 1992. I don't think Madonna today would fare very well. I don't think she would know what's going on.
And they would just like kick her out or vote her out or what how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they'd vote her out, or like, I don't know, sometimes, like, if you're an agent of chaos, which Madonna has always been, sometimes there's a benefit for the traders to keep the agents of chaos in the game because they keep people distracted.
Right.
So maybe she'd make it pretty far, you know,
Yeah.
but
Oh, I
then
mean, if Madonna was on a reality show with me, I'd keep her around. Just to have
obviously
the
we would,
experience, you
well,
know?
obviously we would all do that, of
Yeah.
course.
I mean, how fantastic would that be? That'd be hysterical.
Yeah, especially because like she'd have to spend time with you. You know, there's
Right.
not really anywhere else she can go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she would never do something like that, but it would just be like
Never.
hysterical to think that she could, like, just for like some weird art, like
Yeah.
Andy Warhol-esque experience, you
We'd have
know?
to convince her that it's like performance art.
Exactly. Like you're a character on a
Yeah.
show,
But
Madonna.
maybe Lola might, you know, maybe that's more
Ooh,
realistic.
yeah. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, and we were getting to Madonna in a second, people. Just hang on. It's we Tranna and I chit chat via DMs all the time.
Yes.
I think I flood into her DMs probably more than she wants me to. But
No, I love it. I always loved it.
so like we've had a lot to kiki about. So you've also got to fulfill one of your lifelong dreams of performing on stage at Radio City Music Hall in New York City.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I thought of Madonna, you know, on the Virgin tour, which is I think the only time she's performed there.
Was
If I
no first VMAs were there, right? Where she
Okay,
roll
there
around.
too. Wow. Okay. But that's the thing. I mean, like I had never even been to Radio City like as an audience member.
Oh wow.
Um, and when I got there for sound check and I like, you know, was brought to the stage, like Mateo, I was opening for my friend, brilliant comedian Mateo Lane. And he sort of brought me to the stage in the same way that the Beast brings Belle to the library, you know, kind of like close your eyes, come with me, I'm gonna bring you to the stage. And then when I sort of like stepped onto the stage and saw the space literally for the first time, I just started crying right away because it's just like, first of all, it's such a beautiful space.
Yeah.
It's so overwhelming. And you can really feel the history of that space.
Hmm.
You know, Madonna, Liza, every legend has been on that stage at some point. And I can't even say it was a dream come true because I literally never even thought to dream that because I never thought that something like that was possible, you know?
Yeah. 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 I mean, well, so just to clarify, Trina was not on stage as a rockette. She was there doing some stand up. Uh, and Mateo, I actually photographed Mateo in New York years ago. I don't remember when that was. 2018, 2019,
Okay,
somewhere around there.
amazing.
Spot photos. He's a handsome
Yeah,
man.
he's handsome and talented and literally the nicest, most generous person you'll ever meet.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so that's amazing. I mean, and was so annoyed that I couldn't get up there to see you perform because I was
Yeah,
like,
we
oh
spoke about
damn.
that. I know. I remember you reaching out.
It was like one of those weekends where I was like, oh, but
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
it'll happen. It'll happen. And probably a little later on in the show after we talk Madonna, I'll try and coerce Trina into talking a little bit about it and just like that because you know.
Well, you don't have to, I mean, don't even get me started because then we'll never get to it. I mean, smart to do that at the end, but then we might be here for an extra hour.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, well, don't adjust your headsets, everybody, because tonight, again, we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of Madonna's music album. It's an amazing album, and I figured one episode is just not enough to cover this. Plus, I wanted Trina to come back on the show, and when I asked her or told her she could talk about whatever she wanted, she chose music. So I said, "Well, fine, we'll bring you back for the anniversary," and here we are.
Yeah, well, it is my favorite Madonna album. I mean, it's always hard to choose. I think we, as Madonna
Yeah.
fans, we can all relate to, you know, I'm sure we all update our rankings every now and then. I think my number one and two, I mean, it's always between Ray of Light and Music,
Uh-huh.
for me, but I think that Music ultimately prevails. And I think it's funny because the album was a really big success, you know, and the single, I mean, the lead single, the title track was a like massive hit.
Hmm.
But in a way, I feel like it's kind of like one of the forgotten Madonna albums. Like it doesn't have the same kind of legacy that Ray of Light does and Confessions on a Dance Floor has, or even Erotica. And I don't know why that is because, again, it's such an incredible album. It was also so critically well received too at the time.
Yeah.
Like, this is a good album. Maybe, I don't know how you feel, but maybe it was such a short era, you know, whereas the Ray of Light cycle felt like a good, like almost 2 years, like almost leading up right to music.
Hmm.
Um, but music felt very, I don't know, just like a short era. Like there were only three singles. Maybe that's why.
I mean, we got the tour, so like the tour was great in
Yeah.
Drown World Tour, but um, yeah, I have a feeling. I think in terms of the album, because they're right, there were three singles, but even those three singles, I mean, like, music was huge. Don't Tell Me was big, but
Yeah.
then What It Feels Like for a Girl wasn't really like we got a video for it, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's like as recognizable.
No, it's not.
And
Unfortunately, because it's amazing.
yeah, and but I think it's a short album, so it's not like it's this yeah, I don't know why. I can see that though, where
Because it had also like I remember at the time like I was like a tween when it came out and you know everyone was wearing like the cowboy hats and the big sort of Western belts that are,
mhm,
you know, all the rhinestone studded t-shirts. The fashion aspect to what she was bringing to the table at that time was also very influential.
mhm.
So yeah, I don't know why it's not as cherished as other albums because
I
it had
mean,
it all. Like again, like you said, I know Don't Tell Me and What It Feels Like for a Girl were maybe lesser hits, but she was firing off on all cylinders. She was in the press. She was on every magazine cover. Like it was so part of the zeitgeist.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was something in the like after September 11th, and because that happened in 2001 while she was
Yeah.
still on Drown World Tour, right towards the end. Maybe that just sort of like shifted a focus,
Yeah.
and people sort of like forgot about stuff that happened in the last two
Yeah,
years.
maybe it felt frivolous.
Yeah, who knows? I don't. So tell me, why is it your favorite Madonna album?
It just feels really sophisticated. I love that it's short. I feel like it really does sort of harken back to the first album in that sense
Yeah.
of just being so condensed, but being so energetic and also just so kaleidoscopic. And I think that that even is reflected in the artwork,
Hmm.
which I love. Like, I love the art design and the art packaging of that album. All those sort of like rainbow gradients and those like cartoon rhinestones. Like, it's so colorful and bright. And I think Madonna said this in her Rolling Stone interview at the time, but she felt like she was being like launched out of a cannon. And you can feel that. And I love the energy. I love the sounds. I feel like it's such a unique sounding album. obviously was the first time that she worked with Mirwais, who was bringing such a specific sound that I don't know if I've ever heard anyone really do, like that blend of acoustic meets sparkly electronic and the way that he sort of like chops up, those like acoustic instruments and splices them with these electronic sounds that are buzzy and glitchy and I just love it. Like I could just eat it up.
Yeah, it's one of those albums where I feel like if somebody was to listen to it today for the very first time, they would still think it sounds just as potent and maybe out of the like normal sphere of
Yes,
music that it did when we heard it.
I
Like
think so too.
it
I
still
think
doesn't sound like it's not as if like after Ray of Light, everyone started coming out with music that sounded like Ray of Light.
yes.
Like somebody was just talking about like Mel C was just on some interview from the Spice Girls and she was talking about how Madonna was such a big influence on her. Well, I'm
Yes.
like, well, of course,
Yeah.
because you're a Spice Girl, she'd have to be. But Mel C's Northern Star album, which is I think turning like 25 or something, or
Yeah, I
it's
think it
like
came out in 2000 as well.
that or it was 99. I think it was 99. So it's like it celebrated an anniversary. And I was like, well, of course. I'm like, it sounded just like Ray of Light. That's why Madonna shifted away from trying to replicate Ray of Light because everyone was doing it.
Yeah, which was smart of her, as she always was, especially at that time, she really had an allergic reaction to the idea of repeating herself.
Yeah.
Although obviously music is like so attributed to Mirwais, and it's very much, his musical universe being brought in to her universe, but William is still very present on the album too.
Yes.
And I mean, I think Amazing is a little bit redundant. Like it really does feel like a Beautiful Stranger Part Two, although I still enjoy it, like it
Hmm.
still goes off for me. But when I think of Gone, which is one of my favorite, I mean, it might even be if not number one, definitely top three for me of all time. I think Gone is one of Madonna's most beautiful, soulful songs.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound too hokey, but like I've recently been like dabbling in like mushroom trips and music, not just Madonna's album, but music in general, such an important part of that experience. And the last time I did it this summer with a couple of friends, like I curated this like 5 hour playlist. And I just want to say Madonna's, especially the Ray of Light and Music stuff, like on mushrooms is such an experience. Like you can't even imagine the layers of these songs. And on this last trip, we listened to Gone. And I swear, like, there is a really deep soulfulness in that song, in the lyrics, in her vocals, her delivery. And despite the album being so electronic, there is such a warmth.
Hmm.
There is a soulfulness to it. Doesn't feel cold. Whereas, even though I love it, American Life in some areas feels more cold and more obtuse.
Hmm.
But I feel like music still feels very soulful.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't gone back to back from like music to American Life to sort of analyze the differences per se of like but I know that how they're approaching her vocal styles and how they treat her vocals from music to American Life, at least on the Mirrorways tracks, is very different and specific. Like there's so many things that are at play
Yeah.
when you're listening to so many of her songs. And I think Gone for me was always, it's so sad when I listen to that
It's so
song.
sad, but I feel like it's sort of, I mean, maybe this is too dramatic of a statement to make, but I feel like it's definitely one of those songs that is like the central thesis of who she is.
Hmm.
And I think that as much as, especially from the time she started till Confessions, really put up this warrior, don't fuck with me, bitch, not persona, because I do think there's a big part of that that's very real, but there is, or at least was, a vulnerability to her that was always just beneath that.
Hmm.
And it would never really come through in interviews. Like she doesn't get emotional in interviews. She's not the best at conveying emotions as an actress, but sometimes you land on these songs and it's like there is a real person there and there's a real artist there, which I do think a lot of people, myself included, tend to forget sometimes.
Hmm. I mean, she's definitely gotten emotional on stage during her shows. You know, like
Sometimes.
like when she would do a lot of the speeches during Celebration. I mean,
Well,
there'd
Celebration, I think we spoke about this when I was on last time, but that was one of the reasons why it was such a favorite tour for me because there was a vulnerability and a joy also. And there's a joy on this album too,
for sure.
but there is also that sort of darkness. And I think that like over the years, like I can't think of an exact example right now, but I've literally watched every Madonna interview that exists multiple times. But she hints at this sort of depressive side that she has to her. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
think it's a loneliness,
yeah,
even though she's family, she's got lots of kids and she's got, like assistants and nannies and, her American Life list. But I think there's got to be it's a strange world that she lives in because
yeah,
it's so separated. Like she can't really go anywhere without having people surround her. Like when you watched her on vacation in Italy for her birthday, like security guards were just like, they create this little
yeah,
circle and she just sort of walks in them. And
yeah. But I think it starts even before fame. Like I read all 1,000 pages of Barbara Streisand's memoir, which I can't say I recommend, honestly. But I think that one thing that they have in common, and I think a lot of people in show business have this in common to some extent, although I think it's quite pronounced in Barbara's case and Madonna's case, is just growing up in an environment that really lacks affection,
Mm,
and a kind of emotional nurturing. And I think when you do miss out on that, it's hard to be a warm person because you've never been really shown that warmth. And
yeah.
we learn that we learn how to give it and receive it at a young age. And if you sort of miss that learning, I think it's harder and harder in a way because we become sort of, you know, encaged by our coping mechanisms. And when we're young and we're traumatized, we do the best we can. And we're kids, especially, when considering that she lost her mom so young. Like when you're a kid and you experience something like that, you're a baby. You don't know how to cope with that. So you just do whatever you think you can, you
Yeah.
know? And those defense mechanisms stay for a really, really long time.
Oh,
Really
sure. I
hard to
mean, we
program.
we all,
And we all
develop.
have that to some extent.
Right. We all develop rules as
Yeah,
we
we all
grow up about
exactly.
like how we perceive something, and no one tells us anything. It's just we think, oh, this is how this is because this just happened and I saw that. And like, yeah, it's fascinating how complex and,
Yes.
like even somebody in the same family, like her brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
they're not experiencing it the same way
No.
she is because they're different people.
Exactly. And I think that to bring it back, like I do think a lot of what we just spoke about is really present in Gone.
Hmm.
Like you can feel that, like just that line, I'll be gone before it happens is so powerful,
Yeah.
And it's like I'm gonna duck out before I get hurt, like I'm gonna protect myself. It's such a powerful.
Mm. See, I always looked at that song. I've never thought of that way of how like it's her leaving. I
Mm.
always envisioned it. She was meaning like she'd be dead by the time this would happen. But
Oh my God, I never thought of that.
that's why like, but that's so fascinating to think of like she's in charge.
Yes,
So she's like, oh, I'll be gone by the time that happens because I've removed myself. But I
exactly.
never thought about that. Like, I always thought she was meaning like turn to stone, lose my faith, I'll be gone
Well, maybe
before
you're
it
right, though. I never
happens.
thought about that either. I never really, yeah, because that line of turning to stone, but then it could also mean, again, putting up the defenses.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like turning yourself to stone, turning yourself into something that is unfeeling.
Right. So
Because
she's
it makes it
basically
easier to walk away from someone when you sort of cut off all the feeling.
right. So
I think she's done. We've seen
she's right. She's meaning that like I'm becoming the person that you don't think that I am anymore, or like I'm
Yeah.
becoming someone different
Yeah.
because of this. Oh, that's fascinating. Okay. See, that's what I love about hosting this show is that like even after having this album in our lives for 25 years, I can still sort of come to a different perspective or something on a song that I've heard many, many times.
Yeah, and wait till you listen to these songs on mushrooms, Stefan. Like you have if you haven't had that experience before, I'm telling you, and
Uh,
I'm telling all the listeners, like you have to listen to especially Ray of Light and Music on mushrooms. You will hear these songs in a way that you've never heard them before.
disclaimer to everybody listening or watching, MLVC does not support drug use, but but I'm glad you're having that wonderful experience.
Yes, it is really amazing.
Basically, it's like your MDNA era, but you're applying that to.
But it's like that's the thing too. Like I'm so not a drug person at all, honestly. Like Madonna in that sense too. Like although she's dabbled, you know. But I think that it was something that I was so afraid of for so long. Like I just, never thought that. But I think there's a big difference between like the chemical stuff and like the organic stuff, like weed
Sure.
and mushrooms are being used in therapies and it allows you to sort of let those walls down and like really just sort of connect very purely, you know?
That's the kind of therapy I would want.
Yeah.
Give me some
It
mushrooms and let me listen to
opens everything
Madonna.
up.
Come on.
It's not the kind of thing that like gets you stoned or even high. It's more like a trip, which is what Ray of Light and Music feel like to me. They're very trippy albums.
Well, you're gonna have to listen to other Madonna albums and do it again and report like Confessions.
Yeah, no, it would be fun for sure. For sure. I think Confessions would be fun. American Life would be fun. But I Ray of Light and Music, like as a sort of back-to-back duo, I feel are very, very special.
Hmm.
Like just in that vulnerability that we're talking about. And it's not to say that there aren't vulnerable moments on most of her albums, but I feel like especially with those two, she was really channeling something. She was really connected to something divine or just this moment of openness in her life that was just this window, that I feel like opened and closed relatively quickly.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, again, we don't know her, so we can't sort of we can
I
only
know.
we can only theorize a little bit. But obviously, she was basically a new mom for both of those
Yes.
albums,
Yeah.
and maybe there was like some hormonal thing that she was like flying high on
I'm
how.
sure. Like, and I think that like a lot of the times the like post-birth albums of a lot of the pop stars are really amazing, because I mean, obviously, what a transformative experience,
Yeah.
especially for someone like Madonna, who, and anyone in show business, really, it's all about you,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
your career, there's a sort of one-track mindedness, and obviously, when you become a parent, that cannot be the case anymore.
I mean, I just thought it was so fun that because Ray of Light sort of fit in, like, it made sense to me that she had had a baby and that was where she was emotionally and
Yeah,
mentally. Like, Ray of Light sort of like fit that. It had a very like grounded, earthy,
yeah.
maternal feel and sound. Music, on the other hand, did not. Like, that sounded like, yes, she had a baby, but then it's like, well, but wait, you're now you're dancing out in the clubs and
Mhm.
like it didn't seem as like authentic. However, I felt like it was so experimental and weird and wonderful that um I mean whatever Rocco was like injecting into her body while he was sitting inside of her, it must have been some good stuff because
Well,
that album is amazing.
maybe also the creative process of Ray of Light was so like exhilarating to her, that it just like it opened the floodgates and she
Yeah.
was really inspired.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that music came out so quickly after Ray of Light is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That she could produce these sort of like, I would say two masterpieces back to back is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, like a lot of people beat her up because they say, "Oh, some of the albums after Confessions weren't as good. Well, she's a parent, she's tired. How many parents do you know that are like, I mean, they want to just, do their wash their dishes, get to bed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, something, and not just her, you know what
No.
I mean? I think that maybe there's this pressure for people like her to stay active. And so sometimes there's a difference between, I think, things that are created by inspiration and things that are created more by obligation,
Yeah.
or pressure. Sometimes, there is a really big difference. But I think that like Ray of Light, music, even American Life, I think was a time of like such curiosity on her part, like you can feel how involved she is. And I mean, you can also literally see it in the album credits, like it's
Yeah.
basically her and one other person, or maybe two. Like
Hmm.
she's obviously deeply involved. And then when you listen to the songs that came later that have like 11 people on them, they don't feel the same.
Yeah.
They don't feel as revelatory as this stuff. And even everything that came before, like from the beginning up until Confessions, like it's literally her and like one or two other people.
Yeah. What are some of your other favorite tracks on the music album?
I love Paradise Not For Me.
Okay. Oh, so you're more like down tempo fan.
I actually love Madonna's ballads even more than the dance stuff. I think she is an amazing balladeer,
Hmm.
genuinely. I feel also this way about the Spice Girls, not related, but I do think I gravitate more towards good ballads. I love the dance stuff too, don't get me wrong. But I really do like Madonna is an amazing balladeer.
Hmm.
And I think she even said it in one of the interviews when she was promoting Something to Remember, that like my ballads are pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they
Oh,
are.
yeah.
But Paradise Not For Me is also just it's even hard. It's not a straightforward ballad, obviously. Like
Right.
I think it's like one of her more experimental tracks. It's like 6.5 minutes. There's French, she speaks French on it. Like, she was like, I don't know, like in outer space making that song with Mere Ways, and it feels really magical. And I love the live version on the Confessions tour as
It's
well.
so good. It's honestly, I said this when we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I did not really connect with Paradise Not For Me when I heard it
Okay,
on the album the first time
right.
because it was a little too just like weird
It's very weird. It
and
is.
it took me until I saw the Confessions version for me to really click on that. And I think it was because she was more accessible on
Well,
that
because
version.
it's more acoustic.
Yeah.
It's less like spacey and electronic
Yeah.
and
I
I
mean,
think I forget his name, but the guy singing with her,
oh yeah, I know. I forget who it was. Yeah,
um,
he was great though.
is his actual name Isaac? I don't
I
remember.
I
I don't know.
yeah, I forget.
Someone, I'm sure,
Yeah, I'm
obviously,
sure someone will attack you in the
but
in the
I
in the
love
comments.
his vocals. Like he brings that song like from outer space down to earth.
Hmm. Yeah, I think what had happened was I had heard the Confessions version as an acoustic track. I was able to appreciate the song, and
Yeah.
then I can go back and
Yes.
again, not that I didn't appreciate it before, but it
But
didn't
it's
have
okay
a
if you didn't, you know
it
what I
did
mean? Like
yeah.
not everything's gonna resonate with
Yeah,
everyone,
it didn't
and
have a
it is a sort of,
musicality to me, and I
yeah,
think that was
it's dense
yeah.
and it's not accessible. You're right. That also reminds me of like Alanis's supposed former infatuation junkie. Like when that first came out, I mean,
Mm,
granted I was very young when it came out, but like I couldn't wrap my head around that when I was a kid,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it took me like years later to really get it and be able to find my way into it. And music, like as a whole, like there are moments that do feel a little bit more remote and like again, kind of like she's in outer space, like Impressive Instant,
Yes.
Nobody's Perfect, like these like very like heavily electronic, bizarre, avant-garde sounding songs. Like that's definitely not her most accessible material.
Yeah.
But
I
Impressive Instant live, like I mean, I never got to hear it live, unfortunately. But like, I mean, one of my favorite concerts, and thank God someone on YouTube put like a pretty good quality version of it, but the Brixton Academy show
Hmm.
is one of my favorites. Like her energy is crazy, and I
It's so
love
good.
that like it's just her on stage. Like there's no crazy like production design going on. Like it's just so her and the audience, and that's so rare. And I love it. And that performance of Impressive Instant is electric. And the way she like, like crowd surfs and just lets herself go is amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure it was such a release for her to be able to finally perform again after so
Yeah.
many years. And
So bottled up all that energy.
yeah, yeah, I mean, Impressive Instant has always been one of my favorites, just because I mean, I'm such dance queen Madonna that when I heard that for the first time, I was like, she sounded so crazy and
Yes.
like just so like dark, and I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'll have this. Yes, please, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Madonna.
It's wild. Like that song doesn't even really have a chorus. Like it's unlike anything she's ever really done, especially previous to
Yeah.
that, you
It was
know?
just so weird and wonderful. Like it works. And I think
Yes.
that's it was such an unexpected sound. I mean, obviously music shares similarities with like it lives in that album very well, but as she does with a lot of her lead off singles, that's sort of like the one song that sounds the most commercial, and
Yeah.
then you dovetail into the rest of the weirdness. So, like
Yes.
with Confessions, you got Hung Up. That's the most commercial, in your face, like blatant radio friendly song. And then you go deep on Get Together, Sorry. And then like you're just down the rabbit hole. And it's the same thing on the music album. Music, it's like, again, it's weird and it
Yeah.
sounds like quirky and like you don't know what's happening. But then by the time you realize you're in an Impressive Instant, like that rocket ship has left the universe. You know, like you're in the stratosphere now
You're
and
in the stratosphere.
you cannot get off the rocket. Like it's sorry, kids, you're in outer space.
Exactly, it's so true. And that makes me think of like, imagine at that time, like all the soccer moms who bought the album because they're like, music, they're like
Right.
loving it and like, oh my God, like 80s Madonna is kind of back. And then they buy that album and they put it in the car. And then Impressive Instant comes on next and they are just like, what?
Yeah, it's such an eclectic album in terms of how it shifts, and I loved that Madonna had said, she wanted the first three tracks to be like the songs she'd put on as you're getting ready to go out. And
Yes.
then because like by the time you get to I Deserve It, then you're like, it's such a come down.
Such a drop. But it works and you're right. Like it is like there is a disjointed quality to it, and I'm not saying that in a negative way at all, but somehow it all works.
Right.
It's like this crazy jigsaw puzzle where maybe you look at it and you can't imagine how all the pieces are going to go together, but somehow it does. Like it feels very focused,
Hmm.
despite those ups and downs and
I
like all
think
the
she was
crazy.
giving us a breather, basically. It's like you get this one, two, three of music, Impressive Instant, Runaway Lover, and then you need to sort of like catch a breath.
Yes.
And like we couldn't have just kept going, it
No,
would have
well,
been too.
exactly. But even on I Deserve It, which I really, really love, like I love its simplicity. I love the dry vocals on it. I remember during her press tour at that time, her talking a lot about how Mirez was like, we're not going to put anything on your voice. And I love that the album goes to those two extremes where we have her voice literally bare, dry, no effects, and then literally the most effects
Yeah.
anyone has ever had on their vocals. I love that we get both of those experiences. But even in I Deserve It, you still get those really beautiful, like electronic swirls and squiggles and sparkles coming through, like in the musical track. Like it still has that outer space quality. It's kind of like what you're saying, like those first three songs launch you into space, you're in the rocket, but then one of your fellow astronauts takes out an acoustic guitar and starts playing, but you're still in outer space.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So if we're thinking in terms of like rocket ship, not Kate, not a Katy Perry Gale rocket ship, but
No.
a Madonna rocket ship.
Yeah.
Like music, impressive instant, runaway lover, that's your ascent into orbit. I deserve it is when you're in orbit and you're able to look out the window and look
Yes.
back at the earth and be like, wow, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Exactly.
That's what's happening.
That's exactly what's happening. And that's so like it really feels like that. And I think
Mhm.
that's why that's also one of my favorites. But I there's not a song on the album that I dislike, you know? Like I don't think Nobody's Perfect works very well live. Like I don't think
Mhm.
that fully worked on stage, but
She
the
tried.
song itself is amazing and also so bizarre. And I don't know if you've ever listened to Mirwais' production album.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of those experiments he was doing on his own album. Like,
Yeah.
like I love in Nobody's Perfect, like that moment where you literally have that swoosh sound and then there's this acoustic moment that kicks in. Like it's so brilliant. It's
Yeah.
so,
I think what's fun is to be able to listen to Mirwais' album and see how Madonna wrangled him
yes,
into her world. Because
yes,
again, a lot of people would just say, "Oh, it's Mirwais who made the songs sound." And yeah, he came with his sounds, his Mirwais blips and beeps
yeah,
and whirls and swooshes. But Madonna is almost like, she's at the helm, being like she's the conductor. Like.
absolutely. Oh my God, there's no question. And I think like even in addition to like conductor, but also just collaborator.
Mhm.
Like I really do feel like she works with these people. Like
Yeah.
there is a real artistic collaboration happening. And I mean, I think most Madonna fans feel this way. Like that's the side of her that always gets ignored. Like
Mhm.
yes, she is an amazing businesswoman. Yes, she's an amazing curator and an amazing visual artist and an amazing marketer and all of those things. But I really genuinely believe that she is a real artist.
Mhm.
I really, really do. And I just think it's kind of undeniable,
Yeah,
especially when
it's
you listen to an album like this. Like it's self-evident.
yeah, I think it's weird that people don't think that she would have the capabilities of being creative to that capacity because of all of the other things that distract them, like
Yeah.
the way she looks, the controversies, like all of the things that has made her so memorable. It's
Yes.
weird that like the one thing that like people aren't super focused on, like the ingenuity that she has of creating these hooks and lyrics and
Yeah.
melodies and harmonies, like they take those for granted because they're so distracted by a cowboy hat or like
Yeah.
some quippy choreography with some cowboys, and like, you know what I mean, like they're not thinking about all the other, like the sounds and
I know.
the way that she structures a song.
Yeah.
And
But
uh
that's also one thing that I would sort of, it kind of goes both ways, but I wish that she would put that at the forefront sometimes. Like she never even really talks about it. And even when people t ask her about her process, she doesn't really get into it all that much, Like,
Honestly, if I was to ever have her on a show, like if she like the manifesting Madonna on the
yeah,
podcast, I would just want to ask her about
me
her
too.
process.
That's
Like,
really
I just want to
genuinely
know.
me too. That's really all I care about, especially now. Like, I think that's really all I care about when it comes to her.
Like, even if it was boring, like
But it
like
wouldn't
for
be.
people, but it wouldn't be boring to me, like. But like, I just want to know like how. And I get it. Like sometimes it's just not easy to describe. Like,
No, it is. Yeah, you're right about that. It can be hard to describe for sure.
it'd be like
Sometimes
somebody
it's a boring
asking you.
question when someone's like, "What inspired you?" Like that is a boring question. But I think there is a way to talk about the making of art that can be more interesting than what inspired you.
For sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess even if it was something like I can't describe how I came up with this melody. It just sort of like I heard the sound and it
Yeah.
just I that
But
this
I want to know
this
like what did her and Mirwais like food wise order in the middle of the night? Like were they working till 2 in the morning? Like I want to know those things, like I made an album with a friend of mine a couple of years ago, and like we were just doing it in this like very makeshift, like we turned a rehearsal space into like a makeshift studio, and like we would spend late nights there in the summer, and we would work on a song, and then after a few hours of working on it, we would literally just turn all the lights off in the space, put what we had made on these like giant speakers and just listen to it. Like I want to know those kinds of stories.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we get little
You
behind the
get
scenes,
little here and there.
little nuances and scenes
Yeah.
because she's
Like that
obviously,
when MTV came to visit her
oh
in
my
the
God, I
studio.
loved that. I
But
loved
that's
that
the kind of shit I
special.
love.
I want more like
Yeah. I
that.
want to see those like scribbled papers where you see the original lyrics and they've been crossed out and replaced by something?
Yeah. I mean, that's I think what was so brilliant about that special was that was the first time we'd ever seen something like that behind closed
Yeah.
doors. And I would just love, like, again, I'm not running her career, even though I wish I was, but like, like, she's making this album with Stewart now. I would just love to see a documentary of her making the album.
It
Like,
would be so good.
just like the cameras visit her every day, and I don't care. They just sit there and like just watch her work. Like,
Yeah,
I just give me 5 minutes of
I
watching Madonna
know.
work on an album.
I
Like,
know. Me too.
uninterrupted, no filters, no cutaways, no, just like a camera sitting there watching her work. That's all.
Yeah, I would love that so much.
Just simple. Like, I want, like, because I think what you had said earlier is that like we forget that she's a person and she's a creative person. And
Yeah.
I think the artifice, although wonderful on stage, screens and coming up and down and like a little cube, lasers and
Yeah.
other performers and stuff. It's great to watch and it's entertaining and it makes it a party. But at the end of the day, like, I love when she's just on stage by herself.
Yeah, and it's so rare. That's why that Brixton show is so special.
Hmm.
And the Roseland Ballroom show, but I mean, we don't have footage of that, unfortunately. Were you there? Were you at that show?
No, I wasn't able. I saw her at Letterman, and then I wasn't able to take off work to come back up to New York at the time.
I remember staying up late when I was a kid to watch her Letterman appearance, and that Don't Tell Me performance is so beautiful.
I just remember I was like fourth row in the David Letterman studio.
Oh my
And
God.
they positioned me right in front of that area. So like when they were doing the interview, she was a little off to the right, which I was pissed about because I wanted to be
Right.
like right there. But then when she sat down in the middle of the stage, I was like, oh, she's right in front of me. And I just remember she looked so nervous strumming that guitar because if you watch,
Yes.
she never looks up. She's
Yeah, she
just
never looks at
constantly looking at her fingers and she's so focused. And it was so wonderful to see her that vulnerable because
Yes.
you could tell how much she wanted to do good.
Yeah. Which again, like that just so goes back to what we know of like her childhood and like getting those A's to get a quarter from her dad. Like
Yeah.
it just so goes back to that?
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that about her is that she does care. Like, and I think that's what's so fascinating about her still is that the woman has more money than God. Like, she doesn't need to be doing
No.
another album. She's doing it because she wants to keep busy, because she likes to work on things. And otherwise, like most people, she'd just be, like faffing out around in the Caribbean or
Well,
something.
that's what I liked about Madam X, even though like there's a lot that I don't like about it, but I think what I do appreciate with Madam X is that there was an artistic curiosity. Like I felt that was a return to that kind of like focus and interest and inspiration.
Yeah.
Whereas for me personally, I feel like Hard Candy, MDNA, Rebel Heart, well, they all have their moments, didn't feel that way. Like I didn't feel that curiosity. I didn't feel like she was unearthing something.
Hmm.
But Madam X did, for
Oh
better or
yeah,
for
those songs. I mean, I that's it's odd. I love the songs on that album because I think they're really smart and some are beautiful. I don't listen to it very often
no, me
though,
too.
which is weird to say because I tend to like ebb and flow on the albums that I like. I will
Right.
always go back to a certain lot, and
Yeah.
then there's others where I'm like, oh, I haven't listened to that in a while, and I'll go back and
Yeah.
I'll listen to it. Madam X is not one of those albums, and it's weird to have that exist because And I think ultimately it's because it was the last album that we haven't been able to move past from yet. And I
Yeah.
think like maybe once this next album finally comes
Yeah.
out, whenever, like by the time, 10 years from now, whenever it comes out, that I'll be able to then go back to Madam X because we'll have moved past it.
That's a really good point.
Like we
Yeah.
just haven't gotten over it yet.
We
Like
haven't
it
gotten
it
over it
was
yet.
like, yes, we've gotten like drips and drabs, like Popular with the Weekend, and we got like Sam Smith's like, Vulgar, and we
Right.
got that Dua Lipa like appearance and like
Yeah, but no.
Frozen on Fire. Like we've gotten like drips and drabs, but like to me, those I want a meal, like
Yeah, no, we're
I don't
starved.
want like we've just been getting little like no, not even appetizers, just peanuts on the bar. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And it's interesting that like, Mirwais was back from Adam X and there are some similarities between music. I think in terms of like those moments of being kind of inaccessible.
yep.
She always talks about how smart and philosophical Mirwais is, and I think that there is a sort of like intellectualism at play on Madam X and even music too, that we really don't see that often in pop music.
Yeah, I think that it's a heavy album, Madam X. I think
Yeah.
it's also uh, with her a lot of times the look and feel of the album sometimes has like the persona that she's putting
Yeah,
forward can
absolutely.
sometimes really overshadow the music. And I
Yes.
do think that the Madam X character that she was bringing to the table did overshadow things a
Yes,
little bit.
for
I
sure.
I also don't know if Medellin was necessarily the best lead single for
No.
that because again it seemed very out of place from the
Yes.
rest of the like once you get into that world. And I mean, yeah, we did have Bitch I'm Loca, but even that felt sort of like out of like it seemed weird, oddly placed in the rest of that. I mean, I had always wanted her to like when I heard I don't search, I find, I was like, oh, okay.
I know that would have gotten us
I'm
excited.
like, where can we go a little bit like and then I heard not Faz Costoso, which I actually enjoyed Faz
Me too,
Costoso.
actually,
I think
bizarrely enjoy
there's a
it.
bunch of like fun like Crazy I liked and
Me
I love
too.
like Crave and
But
and
it's very bloated though, that album. And I think that and Rebel Heart was very bloated too. And I think she on this new album, I think can take a page out of like going back to like a 10-track album like she did with music,
yeah.
And I think even like Mariah Carey also had a string of albums that were like very bloated and had some good moments, but were not her best albums. But then when she trimmed it down and came out with Caution, which was like so sophisticated, so smart, just 10 tracks, like, it makes everything sort of count. Like I think, that would be a good approach for Madonna. 10 to 12 for the next
Mm-hmm.
album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Keep it tight, keep it focused.
What are your hopes and aspirations for the forthcoming Madonna
I don't
album?
have any. I can't allow myself to have expectations anymore with her. I can't. I can't. I'll be too disappointed. But if the celebration tour is anything to go by, and what I mean by that is the inspiration.
Hmm.
She was so inspired on the Celebration tour. It was legitimately a brilliant, genius, smart show. So
Hmm.
if that's where her head's at, if she's in that artistic curiosity inspired place, I really do think there's the potential, but I can't allow myself to even have the smallest amount of expectations. I want to be surprised, hopefully in a good way.
I know. I'm the same. Like I feel like I have these lofty expectations where I'm just like, well, nothing in my head can even prepare me for what she's probably doing
Yeah.
because I have no idea where she's at with it.
But that's
But
what was so fun about music. Like I remember hearing the music single for the first time. I was with my mom and sister. We were on like a little family vacation to Quebec City, and we were in the car and it came on, but we had like turned the channel like right as the song was playing, so there was no introduction. So I just hear this song and I hear the voice and I'm like, "Oh my God, I think this is the new song. I think this is Madonna's new song." And I was like freaking out and like and it was so unexpected. And I didn't hear any teaser. I didn't know what musical direction she was going to go into. I literally heard it by accident in the car. And I kind of miss those kinds of surprises, you
Yeah,
know?
I know.
Even I remember
It's
at that time, like, I didn't even know what the album cover looked like. Like, I ran to the mall after school the day it came out. I still, like, vividly remember it. And like when I got to HMV in the mall and like held the CD in my hand, like that was the first time that I even saw the album cover.
mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen it online before, you know? Like, and that was the last time that I ever got to experience that feeling of like walking into a store and seeing the cover for the very first time.
Yeah, I know that music was sort of like her first album, well, like that lived in the digital world. I don't remember how I first heard it. Like I don't I'm blanking on like I do remember hearing music for the first time and thinking, what is going on? Like it
Yeah.
just sounded so ridiculously weird to me.
Yeah.
But and I think you had mentioned this earlier, very 80s-ish. Like when you said, oh,
Yeah.
oh the soccer mom's buying the album because they think Madonna's going back to the
There
80s.
is an element of like Lucky Star in there, you know?
It's for me hearing that I it doesn't sound 80s to me, but yet
No,
there is this simplicity.
yes, that's what I mean. It doesn't, you're right. It doesn't sound 80s. It doesn't sound like a pastiche,
Right.
but there is a spirit
Yes.
in the simplicity. Like everybody is so
Hmm.
simple, but
Hmm.
so powerful.
Yeah, and I
And
think
I
I
think
mean
music has that.
yeah, oddly yes, and then oddly no. Like it is so simple, but then that's the trick where I'm like, it's not simple though, because if you listen to it, like it is so smart in how they construct that song,
Yes, like
and
even with it took me a long time because I remember, looking, I mean, the booklet doesn't have all the lyrics for all the songs, but it has the music single lyrics sort of spread out through
oh right,
really
yeah,
graphic text. And there was in those lyrics, there was that part of like, do you like to boogie woogie? And like, do you like my acid rock? And I'm like, when does she ever say that in the song? It took me so long to figure out where that was because they twist it, you
hmm,
know? And
yeah,
they turn the voice into like an electronic instrument, you
yeah.
know? Where it's so distorted that you don't even know if that's like a synthesizer or her voice.
Yeah, they do that in Impressive Instant too, and it's really smart. Like the um he's using her voice in one of the sounds in the
Yes.
background of Impressive Instant, and it's just so smart. There's so many smart things that are going on in the background, and like it's like you can listen to it and just hear her, but then if you really deep dive on it, you can like if you listen to like background sounds and different
Yeah, no,
noises,
there's
like
so many layers.
it's so
Even like
wonderful.
when she did Gone on Drowned World, like just that extra piano added
Mm.
adds so much to the song. So, all those little details really do add a lot.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Hold on, I'm just gonna go to the chat real quick and see. There's a whole lot of people really like Gone as well. Nothing equals nothing. Lyric is so simple yet speaks
Yes.
volumes.
Oh my
Hmm.
God, that line is so good.
Yeah, oh, it's so good. Um, Frankie Airmax says Gone is a song about self-preservation, and
Yes.
somebody else says perfect album closer. Yeah, I'd agree.
Yes. I know
Yeah.
that's why we cannot deal with the European version that ends with American Life.
No,
That is not the album.
no, in fact, I don't even know why they would do that. Like
Sorry,
that's,
American Pie, not American Life.
well, yeah, I know what you meant. American Pie. Yeah. Um,
Which I love, but it doesn't belong on the album.
no, I mean, I get
And
that.
she never wanted it on the album either.
Right. I mean, it's like sort of like Gaga slapping on the Bruno Mars
Yes.
single on the end of her current album, where I'm
Yeah, and I
like,
don't blame the record company for wanting to put a number one hit on the album.
oh, I mean, that song was huge, but
Yeah.
it doesn't sort of really mesh
No.
with it. It's like, yeah, we'll tack that on at the end,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's yeah, so well, I'm glad we were able to chat about music because it's like I said, like I can just talk on
Me
and
too.
on,
And the
and on
more I
about it.
talk about it, the more I love it, even though it's
Yeah.
already my number one favorite album.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, I just
it
wish the general pop loving public would sort of it deserves a revisit at the very least.
And that's why we're here to,
Yes.
help prop that up. um, well, before you go, let's talk just for a moment about And Just Like That.
Oh,
So, I mean, for everyone watching, listening, you're just lucky that I didn't turn this into an And Just Like That rewatch podcast while the show was on because I was living for that show. I was on that show. I
I
did.
know.
I was able to. That was such a dream come true for me to be able to be a background actor. I was
Well, no, that is truly insane.
I was able to be in the background for 4 scenes, but 2 of those scenes
All
I
in the
got
first
cut.
season, or were you
Yeah,
on the most recent season of?
just in the first season.
Okay.
Um, but my favorite and obviously biggest moment is that Bitsy Von Muffling scene in the very first episode of the first
Yes.
season, where Bitsy walks by and they all turn to wave goodbye, and then I just walk right behind them, and it was such a dream come true to like one be able to watch them rehearse like
Yes.
in person. I'm just standing there because as extras they place you in different areas and then they run the scene, and so you have to sort of do, but then sometimes they'll hold the background so the main actors can just
Right.
focus on what they need to do,
Yeah.
and they can get the cameras in place so they don't want people like running into things, and then they adjust the background actors. And for one, for like I think 2 takes, in that scene, it's where the camera's coming in and people are sort of like splitting
Yeah.
off to the sides, and then Sarah Jessica Parker turns around, and that's the first time you see Carrie.
Yes.
I was the person, Michael Patrick King had put me in front of Sarah Jessica Parker, and I was blocking her for 2 takes because I was tall and I could
Yeah.
cover her completely. But wardrobe had put me in this bright purple blue shirt, and Michael Patrick King was like, I'm sorry, I have to move you. He's like, your shirt's, he's like, you're beautiful. He's like, but your shirt's just too distracting. And but for 2 takes I got to stand right in front of Sarah Jessica Parker, and she was
That's
chatting. Like it was
amazing.
so fun. um
No, you're so lucky you got to experience that
but I think that, and the reason I bring this up is because that's why I was able to love that show a little bit
because you
more,
had that experience.
because I was sort of attached
Yeah,
to
you're
it
like,
while
I'm
it.
part of it. This is my show.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So your overall feelings about And Just Like That
Oh
are you
God.
just wish it never happened?
Well, no, because I actually enjoyed the first season, to be honest.
Okay.
Like, it's not without its flaws, obviously, but I at least enjoyed it. Like, it was a fun bad watch, season one.
Right.
Like I was genuinely entertained. Like I've watched the first season twice.
Hmm.
Um, it's the rest. I just think it should have been a limited series,
Yeah.
a final chapter, and it should have just been one, you
Well, I
know?
mean, obviously, and I think we've chatted about this. They're basing that show off of the defunct third movie that never
Exactly. And that's
happened.
why season one actually kind of has a story.
Well, so season one, and I think what they did was they they probably could have done the movie just in season one, but then they would have been out of movie ideas. Like, and so what they did was they decided to stretch the
Yes.
overarching plot. Most of it, I think, happens in season one. I think there are still elements of, like, for instance, Aiden, John Corbett, he said before season one came out that he was going to be part of season one. And that's
Okay.
because John Corbett read the
Script
third
of the
movie
third
and
movie.
knew that Aiden was in the third movie.
Right.
But what he didn't realize was because they wanted to extend multiple seasons for that show, they had
Yeah.
Aiden not appear until season two.
Well, to be honest, if the third movie had happened and Aiden was in it, I don't think that I would want that. Like, I do think the Aiden thing is so over. The fact that we got him for like, what, 3 or 4 episodes at the end of season two, and then like 9 episodes for this last season, I'm like, and it didn't even go anywhere, and it was
Right.
just weird. I'm like, this is doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the weirdest. It really does feel like a fever dream. Like, I think that's how most of the fans have described it, and I feel that way too. I'm just like, it's so unmemorable too. I'm like, I've watched 3 seasons of this and I can barely name 3 things that happened, you
Yeah,
know?
I when I watch the show and I will fast forward through certain things. I'm like, I wish that there was a way that we could like edit the show to like
Re-edit. Do a new
just
edit.
and just like I would take out so
I
many.
would cut out LTW completely.
Well, I mean, like I would take out so much of Charlotte's scenes
Oh my God, yes.
because
Charlotte, they
like
really did her dirty. And like, um, soon after this last season ended, Kristen Davis revealed in her podcast that like if when there were talks about a fourth season, Michael Patrick King had kind of insinuated to her that like we might not make you a main character anymore. That you
really,
wouldn't be in every single episode, which is so blasphemous. And to me is also a reflection of just how much Michael Patrick King has lost the vision for this whole thing.
he's
I mean,
lost the
that's
plot.
been evident for a long time. Like that vision was gone from the first movie, even towards the end of the series, honestly. Like I don't trust him to move this forward, but also I don't want this to come back. It's like you had your chance. Like no one wanted to end this on the second movie.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so there was a chance to have this really beautiful last chapter, and that didn't happen. And I think we all need to move on.
Yeah.
Like the thought of this coming back is alarming to me, and I will be gone before it happens, okay?
I
I will not participate should this come back. Although I say that now, and of course I will, but
I mean, I honestly could see them bringing it back in a couple of years just because like it, but it would be a completely different name. Like I think they would relaunch it again in the way that they like and just like that wasn't called Sex in the City
yes.
and they would do that again. Like I don't know if it, like I had to wonder or
Yeah,
like
exactly. It's gonna,
hello lovers or
but
something like
I don't have faith in Michael Patrick King spearheading this operation. So if it should come back for another chapter, please let it be a new creative team. Like
yeah.
this doesn't make sense.
I think he's lost the plot in terms
And it makes
of
me
like
scared for what he's gonna do to the comeback season
I'm
three.
I'm terrified
I'm
because
terrified. I have to have faith though in the sense that Lisa Kudrow is so smart.
yes.
And I think Michael Patrick King works best when he's with a strong collaborator. When he's
Yeah.
left to his own devices, I feel like we get this very weird idea of like what his life would have been if he were a woman. Like it's very weird because I think as much as he is a gay man, like he's very entrenched in heteronormative ideas.
Yeah.
He
He
doesn't have
seems
a
very
queer
he
spirit.
doesn't feel very connected to like gay life
No.
or even realistic hetero women.
No, exactly. So it's like it's neither of those things. And so it's like who is this serving?
I know.
And I think that there are, not obviously I'm not generalizing because I know that there are tons of people who do not fit this, but there is a particular type of older gay gentlemen who really do have a lot of disdain for this younger queer generation that is more fluid in their sexuality, more fluid
Mm,
in their gender, which is a beautiful thing, but I don't know if it's like they feel like they missed something, but there is this sort of anger and hatred, and I think that that comes across in like how dumb a lot of the queer characters came off like dumb
mm.
and weird and nonsensical. And I don't think that did a good job for queer representation, this show, because this show is watched by a lot of like straight, cis, turfy kind of women. And I
Yeah.
think it validated a lot of their false ideas because these are false ideas. I've never met a non-binary person who acts the way that any of these non-binary characters acted in the show. Like it's so weird.
Yeah, it was a strange show.
And even
Like,
like you said, like so many, I've heard from so many like older cis straight women who are like, this is not me. These are not
yeah.
my friends. Like, no, like they made the characters so dowdy. They made Carrie mean and bitter. And
Hmm.
it's like, no, a lot of women are having a new chapter where they're like loving life. They're discovering new things. They're still having adventures. They're still having fun. Where it feels like none of these characters were ever having fun.
Yeah, I know. And look, if you're still hanging in or watching or listening, and
Yeah,
you
maybe
want to
we're going
bugger
off
off, that's fine. We're just going to talk about and just like that for a little bit more. But um, I think my biggest thing was I felt like they changed who the characters were and they weren't
Yes.
being faithful to who they were in the original. Even some the movies a little bit.
Yeah, the movies too. My God, the movies do
They
not.
still felt the same
Well, but I don't think so, honestly. Like
ish.
there ish. There were. little fragments. Now there's not even little fragments. They're unrecognizable.
Right. And
And
everybody who said they were pissed that Samantha wasn't on the show, I'm like, they would have wrecked her too.
they would have wrecked her too.
I'm like, you
Absolutely.
should all be thankful
Yeah,
that
there's only
that
so much Kim can do with bad writing. You
yeah,
know,
it's
she's an amazing actress and a comedic genius, but there's only so much an actor can do when you're given this writing.
I would love for that third script to find its way on the internet one day, just so we can see
Oh
how
my God,
awful
I
it
would
was actually supposed to
kill.
be.
I would kill for that script.
Because it would show that they were always planning to kill off Big,
Yes, they
and
were
that
always planning that.
they were always planning to bring Aiden back, and they were always planning for Aiden to then leave again and for her to be on her own, because Michael Patrick King even said it where he's like, this felt like a good place to stop because that's where you ended the third movie.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it was a good place to stop at the end of the first season.
Yeah.
Not like when you put so much crap in the middle that doesn't even mean anything. Like I've always wanted us to have that sort of empowered single Carrie because she was
Yes.
never really empowered in her singleness as much as the maybe she was a little bit in the beginning seasons, but then she became so desperate for love that she always compromised so much of herself and her worth, you know,
Mhm.
especially for Big.
Oh,
I've
I was forever pissed at the last episode
Yeah, me
where
too.
she was like, "Take me home." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." Carrie would never. She'd be like, it should have been, "Let's go home." Where
Or it should the thing with Big should have ended with that amazing fight in the street of like, I don't live here anymore. You cannot keep doing this to me because
right.
I would rather be alone than continue to be treated like this. You're a psycho.
Hmm.
That's where it should have ended with him, honestly, and that would have
Well,
been great.
that's why I loved in the funeral episode of Big for Big when Susan Sharon shows up and she's sitting in the audience. She's like, "Does anyone else remember what a dick he was to her?" And I was like,
Well,
"Yes."
yeah, and then there was a moment in the second season where Carrie literally asked Miranda, like, was Big just a big mistake? Which is like the most shattering question she's ever asked herself, and they don't even
They
go there.
That's the thing with that show is that I felt like they touch on something
And then they
and I was
drop
like,
it.
and then it just doesn't go. And I'm
Yeah,
like, no,
it
no, no, no. I'm
fizzles.
like, there should have been a whole episode devoted to her being overwrought with grief
Exactly.
about the fact that she's even in like entertaining that as an idea that like he was such a, and I get it that they were trying to distance themselves from the actor Chris Noth who played Big and whatnot. But I'm like, no, 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 no. No. I'm like,
But
this, he was such,
yeah,
he was the show for her. And
yes, exactly. And I just think, for me, I think the ultimate takeaway, and I think my ultimate sadness is that women in their 50s are so rarely represented. I mean, thank God we have Hacks, um,
yes, yes.
and White Lotus to a certain extent, but it's so rare, you know, and so rare to see women in their 50s like thrive in television, be sexual, have fun, and we didn't get to see really any of that. And I think that it was such a missed opportunity because this could have been to women in their 50s what Sex and the City was to women in their
I
30s.
know.
And if
And
they had gotten really specific in that experience, there would be universal enjoyment, you know, because and like so many people, I was watching Sex and the City when I was a teen. Like, what the fuck did I know about being a single woman in New York in your 30s? Nothing, but there was an emotional resonance that was universal. And this show did not even have like an emotional core that you could relate to. It
yeah,
was so unrelatable.
I know. And to bring it back, they missed the opportunity to cast Madonna as a guest star
He
on
would
one of the
never have
episodes.
done it. But they needed a Madonna type, and that would have been the Samantha,
Yeah.
you know? And they kind of did it with Seema, and Seema was great in the first season, but even the writers started doing her dirty in this
Yeah, I
last
know.
season and
I
made
know.
her unlikable
That
too.
Gardner plot, I was like,
Oh God.
no, stop it.
Yeah. Good riddance. And if they're gonna come back, it better be fucking good because they they fucked up with the movies. Now they fucked up with this.
I
Like,
know.
how many
I
chances
think
do
it's
we
like
get?
how many opportunities are we gonna give them?
That's
However,
why I think we need to make our peace.
that
I'm
being
making
said,
my peace with it.
absence makes the heart go strong, grow fonder. So, you know, like in 5 years, maybe we'd be happy to see Carrie at 70, you know?
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so Trana, thanks for stopping by. Tell everyone where they can find you on social.
I'm on all the socials at Tranna Wintour.
And what's coming up? You've got some stand up coming up, or anything you
I
can
mean, I'm
tell
always
us?
performing, but right now I'm working more on like writing projects. So
Oh
I'm
God, are you doing a biopic like Madonna?
no, but actually I had a great concept for her biopic, but I can't share it because I might actually write it.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I'll tell it to you off camera.
Okay,
But
okay.
yeah, I'm just like I love the fall. I kind of want to take the rest of the year a little more quietly. Like this year has been so crazy, so like I'm trying to give myself a little break.
Hey,
We'll see how that goes. I mean, I
and
always say that and I never
once the hot weather finally leaves us, you'll be able to do that.
exactly.
Throw in a little sweater, go for a little walk in the
Can't wait.
park. Remember, everybody, you can find us on all social platforms at MLVC Podcast. If you'd like to donate to the show, we're on Venmo at MLVC Podcast. If you've not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, take that subscribe button so you never miss a video. Thanks for entertaining us and letting Chana and I have our little end just like that moment. If you're still
I'm
hanging
sure
on,
a lot of the Madonna fans are watching and just like that.
I would hope. I
I think
mean,
there's
come
a
on.
pretty big overlap in those fans.
Yeah, yeah. Trying to stay there. We're going to end the live, but I just want to kiki real quick. Until next time, everybody, remember, it doesn't pay to be a runaway lover. Uh-uh. No way. Hang tight.